mind so slight and evil, and set out boldly for an unknown goal. All day I forged steadily westward, guided by a faraway hummock which rose higher than any other elevation on the rolling desert. A hummock, I had to look this word up multiple times when I read this story the first time, is like a hill with a really flat top. It's just like an area of land that is raised in plains. Like it's just like a lump. It's just a really big lump of land. That is what a hummock is. So that's what Dagon is making his way towards. Yeah, which was higher than any other elevation on the rolling desert. That night I encamped, and on the following day still traveled toward the hummock, though that object seemed scarcely nearer than when I had first espied it. That's also an interesting word, espied, E-S-P-I-E-D. It's Old English, but it literally means spied. So saw it. By the fourth evening I attained the base of the mound, which turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from a distance, an intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface. Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill. I know not why my dreams were so wild that night, but ere the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain, I was awake in a cold perspiration, determined to sleep no more. Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again. I can't read anything because of that light over there. Bear with me, friends. This is just day one, so we're figuring out how comfortable. This is the first day of the Subathon. Technically. But I'm liking this. I feel cozy reading. I could do this for hours, I think. Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again, and in the glow of the moon I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day. Without the glare of the parching sun, my journey would have cost me less energy. Indeed, I now felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset. Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence. I have said that the unbroken monotony of the rolling plain was a source of vague horror to me. But I think my horror was greater when I gained the summit of the mound and looked down the other side into an immeasurable pit or canyon, whose black recesses the moon had not yet soared high enough to illumine. I felt myself on the edge of the world, peering over the rim into a fathomless chaos of eternal night. Through my terror ran curious reminiscence of Paradise Lost, and Satan's hideous climb through the unfashioned realms of darkness. As the moon climbed higher in the sky, I began to see that the slopes of the valley were not quite so perpendicular as I had imagined. Ledges and outcroppings of rock afforded fairly easy footholds for a descent. Whilst after a drop of a few hundred feet, the declivity became very gradual. Urged on by an impulse which I cannot definitely analyze, I scrambled with difficulty down the rocks and stood on the gentler slope beneath, gazing into the Stygian depths where no light had yet penetrated. All at once, my attention was captured by a vast and singular object on the opposite slope, which rose... I lost my line, one sec. There's a little bug on my desk. Hey, look, I found another bug. Anyway. All at once my attention was captured by a vast and singular object on the opposite slope, which rose steeply about 100 yards ahead of me. An object that gleamed whitely in the newly bestowed rays of the ascending moon, that it was merely a gigantic piece of stone. I soon assured myself, but I was conscious of a distinct impression that its contour and position were not altogether the work of nature. A closer scrutiny filled me with sensations I cannot express, For despite its enormous magnitude and its position in an abyss which had yawned at the bottom of the sea since the world was young, I perceived beyond a doubt that the strange object was a well-shaped monolith whose massive bulk had known the workmanship and perhaps the worship of living and thinking creatures. Dazed and frightened, yet not without a certain thrill of the scientist's or archaeologist's delight, I examined my surroundings more closely. The moon, now near the zenith, shone weirdly and vividly above the towering steeps that hemmed in the chasm and revealed the fact that a far-flung body of water flowed at the bottom, winding out of sight in both directions and almost lapping my feet as I stood on the slope. Across the chasm, the wavelets washed the base of the cyclopean monolith, on whose surface I could now trace both inscriptions and crude sculptures. The writing was in a system of hieroglyphs unknown to me and unlike anything I'd ever seen in books, consisting for the most part of conventionalized aquatic symbols such as fishes, eels, octopi, crustaceans, mollusks, whales, and the like. Several characters obviously represented marine things which are unknown to the modern world, but whose decomposing forms I had observed on the ocean-risen plain. It was the pictorial carving, however, that did most to hold me spellbound. Plainly visible across the intervening water on account of their enormous size was an array of bas-reliefs whose subjects would have excited the envy of a Dore. I think that these things were supposed to depict men, at least a certain sort of men. Though the creatures were shown disporting like fishes in certain sort of men? Sorry, I'm struggling. Okay. Like fishes in the waters of some marine grotto or paying homage at some monolithic shrine which appeared to be under the waves as well. Of their faces and forms, I dare not speak in detail, for the mere remembrance makes me grow faint, grotesque beyond the imagination of a Poe or a Bulwer. They were damnably human in general outline, despite webbed hands and feet, shockingly wide and flabby lips, glassy, bulging eyes, and other features less pleasant to recall. Curiously enough, they seem to have been chiseled badly out of proportion with their scenic background, for one of the creatures was shown in the act of killing a whale, represented as but little larger than himself. I remarked, as I say, their grotesqueness and strange size, but in a moment decided that they were merely the imaginary gods of some primitive fishing or seafaring tribe, some tribe whose last descendant had perished eras before the first ancestors of the Piltdown or Neanderthal man was born. Awestruck at this unexpected glimpse into a past beyond the conception of the most daring anthropologist, I stood musing whilst the moon cast queer reflections on the silent channel before me. Then suddenly I saw it. With only a slight churning to mark its rise to the surface, the thing slid into view above the dark waters. Vast, Polyphemus-like, and loathsome, it darted like a stupendous monster of nightmares to the monolith, about which it flung its gigantic scaly arms. And while it bowed its hideous head and gave vent to certain measured sounds, I think I went mad then. Of my frantic ascent of the slope and cliff, and of my delirious journey back to the stranded boat, I remember little. I believe I sang a great deal, and laughed oddly when I was unable to sing. I have indistinct recollection of a great storm some time after I reached the boat. At any rate, I know that I had peals of thunder and other tones which nature utters only in her wildest moods. When I came out of the shadows, I was in a San Francisco hospital, brought thither by the captain of the American ship which had picked up my boat in mid-ocean. In my delirium, I had said much, but found that my words had been given scant attention of any land upheaval in the Pacific. My rescuers knew nothing. Nor did I deem it necessary to insist upon a thing which I knew they could not believe. Once I sought out a celebrated ethnologist and amused him with the peculiar questions regarding the ancient Philistine legends of Dagon, the fish god. But soon perceiving that he was helplessly conventional, I did not press my inquiries. It is at night, especially when the moon is gibbous and waning, that I see the thing. I tried morphine, but the drug has given only transient surcease, and has drawn me into its clutches as a hopeless slave. So now I am to end it all, having written a full account for the information of or So now I am to end it all, having written a full account for the information or the contemptuous amusement of my fellow man. Often I ask myself if it could not all have been a pure phantasm, a mere freak of fever as I lay sun-stricken and raving in the open boat after my escape from the German man-of-war. This I ask myself, but ever does there come before me a hideously vivid vision in reply. I cannot think of the deep sea without shuddering at the nameless things that may at this very moment be crawling and floundering on its slimy bed, worshipping their ancient stone idols and carving their own detestable likeness on submarine obelisks of water-soaked granite. I dream of a day when they may rise above the billows to drag down in their reeking talons the remnants of puny, war-exhausted mankind. Of a day when the land shall sink and the dark ocean floor shall ascend amidst universal pandemonium. The end is near. I hear a noise at the door, as of some immense slippery body lumbering against it. It shall not find me. God, that hand, that window, the window. And that was Dagon. And there's an artwork at the end of it. If I turn the light off, you'll be able to see it a bit better. So I'm curious, really quickly, who actually understood that, like, at all? Who was able to follow along my reading and understood the story? Because I have a feeling this is not the easiest thing to keep along with. You got it? Oh, nice. Okay, cool. There is a game based on this. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so the basic gist of the story is the main character, I don't think we ever get to know his name. The main character is on a ship. The ship gets captured. The captors keep him as a prisoner, but he escapes. And he falls asleep and wakes up in the middle of somewhere he has no idea where he is. It's this giant black land all around him for miles upon miles, and there's dead things everywhere. And he decides that this is the bottom of the ocean that has just come up somehow. And then it dries a little bit, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to go exploring. And he starts walking towards this mound. He sees really far away, but the closer he gets to it, the more he realizes how big it is. And he falls asleep at the base of it. And when he falls asleep at the base of it, he has really weird dreams. And then he wakes up at night and realizes, oh shit, I'm an idiot. I should have been traversing at night rather than at day because it's much easier to travel. And he decides to climb up the cliff to get to the top and see what's at the top. Maybe he can look around and find something. But then when he gets to the top, he realizes that this is not a mountain, this is not a hill, it is a crater. Because he gets to the top and there's a huge dip all the way down. Anyway, he realizes that you can climb down. It's not so bad and it smooths out near the bottom. So he goes down and he sees a giant rock on the opposite side of him. Something that's way too big to be there naturally. Something that looks like it was placed there by someone. He gets closer to it, realizes it's got etchings on it, and he realizes that this is a monolith. People have written stories on it. But he sees in the stories that it's describing something that is as big as a whale, but is shaped like a man. And while he does this and he's freaking out about this, something comes out of the water at the bottom of the crater and goes and holds the monolith as if hiding it. And that's when he goes mad and he runs back to his boat and wakes up. That's the story. That was Dagon, basically. Yeah. Hopefully I explained it well enough. Hopefully my reading was good as well. Hi, Nixus. Yeah, we're still here for a little bit longer. We are reading. I'm reading this. We just read one book. One story, and I was just explaining it. And I'm really curious to see, did you guys enjoy listening to that? Also, thank you, Cosmic, for the spin. I'll just quickly do that. Nothing. Whole load of nothing. That's unfortunate. R.I.P., buddy. We love story time. I really liked reading that out loud. That felt so natural. I mean, I've read Dagon like 3 times. Dagon, whatever. You enjoyed the end. I'm sure you did, Nexus. I am getting warm, friends. I'm going to take my coat off. I don't know how long that took me to read. Dragoon? Final Fantasy 14? But I liked that. Let's read I don't know if I want to read another one. So that was 2 stories. We read the Staunchy Knights. What was the first one called? Night Gaunts. Staunchy Knights. Night Gaunts and Dagon. The next one is the Statement of Randolph Carter. It's about the same length as Dagon. Dragoon spotted. Oh my god. But how long have we been reading? Does anybody know? About 45 minutes, I think we've been reading. Has anyone won the wheel yet? Nope. The wheel would be removed if somebody won. When someone wins, it's going to be deleted. More birds. I enjoy reading out loud too. It helps me improve my speech, and I guess loving Lovecraft works as a bonus. Yeah, no, definitely. I liked reading that a lot, actually. That was really nice. If no one won, what happened to Kush? Kush lost. There's a 1 in 100 chance to win, but there's also a 1 in 100 chance to get banned, to get timed out for a number between 1 and 24. That's what it was for the 24-hour stream, but now I'm doing between 1 and 12, because between 1 and 24 seems a bit too rough. So we've had 3 losers, no winners so far, which is really funny. It's really unfortunate and really funny at the same time. That somehow 3 people have managed to hit the 1 in 100 negative roll. Oliver Twist is a really good book. All right. Let's go gambling. Oh, dang it. Let's do one more story, yeah? Just cause. Because I like you guys, alright? Okay. The Statement of Randolph Carter. I need to get closer to the book. I feel like I'm so far away. I repeat to you, gentlemen, that your inquisitions is fruitless. Detain me here forever, if you will. Confine or execute me if you must. Have a victim to perpetuate the illusion you call justice. But I can say no more than I have said already. Everything that I can remember, I have told you with perfect candor. Nothing has been distorted or conceded. And if anything remains vague, it is only because of the dark cloud which has come over my mind. That cloud and the nebulous nature of the horrors which brought it upon me. Again, I say, I do not know what has become of Harley Warren, though I think almost hope he is in peaceful oblivion. If there be anywhere so blessed a thing, it is true that I have for 5 years been his closest friend and a partial sharer of his terrible researches into the unknown. I will not deny, though my memory is uncertain and indistinct, that this witness of yours may have seen us together, as he says, on the Gainesville Pike, walking towards Big Cypress Swamp, at 11:30 on that awful night. That we bore electric lanterns, spades, and a curious coil of wire with attached instruments. I will even affirm, for these things all played a part in the single hideous scene which remains burned into my shaken recollection. But of what followed, and of the reason I was found alone and dazed on the edge of the swamp next morning, I must insist that I know nothing save what I have told you over and over again. You say to me that there is nothing in the swamp or near it which could form the setting of that frightful episode. I reply that I knew nothing beyond what I saw. Vision or nightmare it may have been, vision or nightmare I fervently hope it was. Yet it is all that my mind retains of what took place in those shocking hours after we left the sight of men. And why Harley Warren did not return, he or his shade, or some nameless thing I cannot describe, alone can tell. As I have said this before, the weird studies of Harley Warren were well known to me, and to some extent shared by me. Of his vast collection of strange rare books on forbidden subjects, I have read all that are written in the languages of which I master. But these are few as compared with those in languages I cannot understand. Most, I believe, are in Arabic, and the fiend-inspired book which brought on the most end, the book which he carried in his pocket out of the world, was written in characters whose like I never saw elsewhere. Warren would never tell me just what was in that book, and as to the nature of our studies, I must say again that I no longer retained full comprehension. It seems to me rather merciful that I do not, for they were terrible studies, which I pursued more through reluctant fascination than through actual inclination. Warren always dominated me, and sometimes I feared him. I remember how I shuddered at his facial expression on the night before the awful happening, when he talked so incessantly of his theory, why certain corpses never decay, but rest firm and fat in their tombs for 1,000 years. But I do not fear him now, for I suspect that he has known horrors beyond my ken. Now I fear for him. Oh, bye, Nixus. Sorry, I didn't get to see the Color Out of Space. I will like Color Out of Space a lot. I've seen a movie about Color Out of Space. I'm very excited to read it. What was that sound? I just heard something. Anyway. Once more I say that I have no clear idea of our object on that night. Certainly it had much to do with something in the book which Warren carried with him. That ancient book in undecipherable characters which had come to him from India a month before. But I swear I do not know what it was that we expected to find. Your witness says he saw us at 11:30 on the Gainesville Pike, headed for Big Cypress Swamp. This is probably true, but I have no distinct memory of it. The picture seared into my soul is of one scene only, and the hour must have been long after midnight, for a waning crescent moon was high in the vaporous heavens. The place was an ancient cemetery, so ancient that I trembled at the manifold signs of immemorial years. It was in a deep, damp hollow, overgrown with rank grass, moss, and curious creeping weeds, and filled with a vague stench which my idle fancy associated absurdly with rotting stone. On every hand were the signs of neglect and decrepitude, and I seemed haunted by the notion that Warren and I were the first living creatures to invade a lethal silence of centuries. Over the valley's rim, a wan, waning crescent moon peered through the noisome vapors that seemed to emanate from unheard, of catacombs, and by its feeble, wavering beams, I could distinguish a repellent array of antique slabs, urns, cenotaphs, and mausoleum facades, all crumbling, moss-grown, and moisture-stained, and partly concealed by the gross luxuriance of the unhealthy vegetation. My first vivid impression of my own presence in this terrible necropolis concerns the act of pausing that Warren before a certain half-obliterated sepulchre and of throwing down some burdens which we seemed to have been carrying. I now observed that I had with me an electric lantern and 2 spades, whilst my companion was supplied with a similar lantern and a portable telephone outfit. No word was uttered for the spot, and the task seemed known to us, and without delay we seized our spades and commenced to clear away the grass, weeds, and drifted earth from the flat, archaic mortuary. After uncovering the entire surface, which consisted of 3 immense granite slabs, we stepped back some distance to survey the charnel scene, and Warren appeared to make some mental calculations. Then he returned to the sepulchre and, using his spade as a lever, sought to pry up the slab lying nearest to a stony ruin, which may have been a monument in its day. He did not succeed and motioned to me to come to his assistance. Finally, our combined strength loosened the stone, which we raised and tipped to one side. The removal of the slab revealed a black aperture from which rushed an effluence of miasmal gases so nauseous that we started back in horror. After an interval, however, we approached the pit again and found the exhalations less unbearable. Our lanterns disclosed the top of a flight of stone steps, dripping with some detestable ichor of the inner earth and bordered by moist walls encrusted with nitre. And now, for the first time, my memory records verbal discourse. Warren addressing me at length in his mellow tenor voice, a voice singularly unperturbed by our awesome surroundings. "I'm sorry to have to ask you to stay on the surface," he said, "but it would be a crime to let anyone with your frail nerves go down there. You can't imagine, even from what you have read and from what I've told you, the things I shall have to see and do. It's fiendish work, Carter, and I doubt if any man without ironclad sensibilities could ever see it through and come up alive and sane. I don't wish to offend you, and heaven knows I'd be glad enough to have you with me. But the responsibility is in a certain sense mine, and I couldn't drag a bundle of nerves like you down to probable death or madness. I tell you, you can't imagine what the thing is really like. But I promise to keep you informed of the telephone of every move. You see, I've enough wire here to reach the center of the earth and back." I can still hear in memory those coolly spoken words, and I can still remember my remonstrances. I seemed desperately anxious to accompany my friend into those sepulchral depths, yet he proved inflexibly obdurate. At one time he threatened to abandon the expedition if I remained insistent, a threat which proved effective since he alone held the key to the thing. All this I can still remember, though I no longer know what manner of thing we sought. After he had obtained my reluctant acquiescence in his design, Warren picked up the reel of wire and adjusted the instruments. At his nod, I took one of the latter and seated myself upon an aged, discolored gravestone close by the newly uncovered aperture. Then he shook my hand, shouldered the coil of wire, and disappeared within the indescribable ossuary. For a moment I kept sight of the glow of his lantern and heard the rustle of the wire as he laid it down after him, but the glow soon disappeared abruptly, as if a turn in the stone staircase had been encountered, and the sound died away almost as quickly. I was alone, yet bound to the unknown depths of those magic of those magic strands whose insulated surface lay green beneath the struggling beams of that waning crescent moon. I constantly consulted my watch by the light of my electric lantern and listened with feverish anxiety at the receiver of the telephone. But for more than a quarter of an hour heard nothing. Then a faint clicking came from the instrument, and I called down to my friend in a tense voice, apprehensive as I was. I was nevertheless unprepared for the words which came up from that uncanny vault in accents more alarmed and quivering than any I had heard before from Harley Warren. He, who had so calmly left me a little while previously, now called from below in a shaky whisper more portentous than the loudest shriek. God, if you could see what I am seeing! I could not answer, speechless. I could only wait. Then came the frenzied tones again. Carter, it's terrible, monstrous, unbelievable. This time my voice did not fail me, and I poured into the transmitter a flood of excited questions. Terrified, I continued to repeat, Warren, what is it? What is it? Once more came the voice of my friend, still hoarse with fear and now apparently tinged with despair. I can't tell you, Carter. That's too utterly beyond thought. I dare not tell you. No man could know it and live. Great God, I never dreamed of this. Stillness again, save for my now incoherent torrent of shuddering inquiry. Then the voice of Warren in a pitch of wilder consternation. Carter, for the love of God, put back the slab and get out of this if you can. Quick! Leave everything else and make for the outside. It's your only chance. Do as I say and don't ask me to explain. I heard, yet was able only to repeat my frantic questions. Around me were the tombs and the darkness and the shadows. Below me, some peril beyond the radius of the human imagination. But my friend was in greater danger than I. And through my fear, I felt a vague resentment that he should deem me capable of deserting him under such circumstances. More clicking, and after a pause, a piteous cry from Warren came. Beat it, for God's sake. Put back the slab and beat it, Carter. Something in the boyish slang of my evidently stricken companion unleashed my faculties. I formed and shouted a resolution. Warren, brace up. I'm coming down. But at this offer, the tone of my auditor changed to a scream of utter despair. Don't. You can't understand. It's too late. And my own fault. Put back the slab and run. There's nothing else you or anyone can do now. The tone changed again, this time acquiring a softer quality, as of hopeless resignation, yet it remained tense through anxiety for me. Quick, before it's too late. I tried not to heed him. I tried to break through the paralysis which held me and to fulfill my vow to rush down to his aid, but his next whisper found me still held inert in the chains of stark horror. Carter, hurry. It's no use. You must go. Better one than two. The slab. A pause, more clicking than the faint voice of Warren. Nearly over now. Don't make it harder. Cover up those damn steps and run for your life. You're losing time. So long, Carter. Won't see you again. Here Warren's whisper swelled into a cry that gradually rose to a shriek fraught with all the horror of the ages. Curse these hellish things, legions, my God, beat it, beat it, beat it. After that was silence. I know not how many interminable eons I sat stupefied, whispered, muttering, calling, screaming into that telephone over and over again. Through those eons I whispered and muttered, called, shouted, and screamed, Warren, Warren, answer me, are you there? And then there came to me the crowning horror of all. The unbelievable, unthinkable, almost unmentionable thing. I have said that eons seemed to elapse after Warren shrieked forth his last despairing warning, and that only my own cries now broke the hideous silence. But after a while, there was a further clicking in the receiver, and I strained my ears to listen. Again I called down, Warren, are you there? And in answer, heard the thing which has brought this cloud over my mind. I do not try, gentlemen, to account for that thing, that voice, nor can I venture to describe it in detail, since the first words took away my consciousness and created a mental blank which reaches to the time of my awakening in the hospital. Shall I say that the voice was deep, hollow, gelatinous, remote, unearthly, inhuman, disembodied? What shall I say? It was the end of my experience and is the end of my story. I heard it and knew no more. Heard it as I sat petrified in that unknown cemetery in the hollow amidst the crumbling stones and the falling tombs, the rank vegetation and the miasmal vapors. Heard it well up from the innermost depths of that damnable open sepulchre as I watched amorphous, necrophagous shadows dance beneath an accursed waning moon. And this is what it said. You fool, Warren is dead. That was the statement of Randolph Carter. Not my favorite story. But what did you guys think? Did we understand that one? This one's really simple, but it uses a lot of big words. It's kind of hard to understand. Not Sam Carter, yeah. Poor Carter. But I think that is enough reading for today, friends. I am starting to get very sleepy. Holy. That one was tense. Ooh, you were liking it? Okay. Hey, I'm glad that we're feeling the stories. That's awesome. That makes me really happy because that's what we should experience. So, brief summary of that one for anybody who listened along but didn't understand too clearly. It's a story. It's a recount. It is a recount. Once again, Dagon was also a recount, but this one is a more clear recount of someone waking up in a hospital and telling officers, presumably, that he does not know what happened to his friend Warren. And he keeps saying that I've already told you everything I know. I know that I'm a researcher. I know that I am Warren's best friend and have been for many years, but I don't know what we were doing in that place. And supposedly they went to a graveyard with lanterns and shovels, and they opened up a grave, a tombstone, like one of the what are they called? I'm not sure. But like the underground rooms. Oh my god, what are they called? I can't think of it. Anyway, but where you bury dead. But it's one that you go underground into. A crypt. Yes, thank you. Exactly, Panic. A crypt. Or a catacomb, but we don't know if it was as big as a catacomb. Backrooms, yes, that's the one. And they open up a pathway into it, but Warren does not let the main character go down. He's like, you are going to stay up here. I have the key. You are not allowed to follow me, and I will not have it any other way. And he had a telephone with him and a crap ton of wire, and he went down. Our character stayed up at the top and talked to him on the phone. Warren then calls back and is like, I messed up. I can't explain to you what is here. I am going to die. You need to leave. And yeah, that's what happens. He dies. We don't know to what. And then eventually, our character, I keep thinking, I've completely forgotten his name. I'm really bad with names. You guys will learn this. Our character hears another click from the telephone, and there is a ghostly, devilish voice saying that Warren is dead. And that's all we know. He forgets everything, and our character goes insane. Lovecraft's stories are all really vague in lots of ways. Carter, Harley? I'm not sure. I'm going to check. Oh, it's Carter. Randolph Carter. Yeah, the statement of Randolph Carter is the name of the story. So we are Randolph Carter because it's our statement. Yeah. Yeah, so Lovecraft stories are all about going insane. It's about horrors that humans can't comprehend. Which makes them really hard to write about, but I think he does an amazing job with this, with stuff like that. But yeah, that was the statement of Randolph Carter, as well as Dagon, as well as Night Courts. Those 3 stories, I think I've read for like an hour and a half maybe there. Haru redeemed wheel spin. Let's spin the wheel. But I think we are going to find someone to raid, and I'm going to end stream, and I'm going to pause the timer, and I will see you all in the morning. Oh my god, Haru almost got timed out. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that little segment of reading. It's really different, I know. I'm sure it's not really something we're used to on Twitch, but as I've said many times, I don't really know how to properly advertise this, but the whole point of this subathon is to try and lock in and do things that will make me a better, more intelligent, stronger, healthier, fitter human being. So along with working out, we have reading and aim training and chess, all of these things. And you guys get to share the journey with me. And the longer the subathon goes on, the more I have to do it. You really enjoyed it? Oh, I'm really glad. That makes me very happy. You would never time me out. Watch me. Reminds of the game, The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. Oh, yeah. I think there are 2 games I enjoy. Oh, that's interesting. The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, huh? I'm really glad we enjoyed that then. That makes me very happy. Let's see who is up and about at the moment. I very much enjoyed reading that as well. That was super, super fun. It's way easier to read and focus on what I'm reading out loud and on stream. Like I've actually, I don't know if it's just because I'm in a different mental space or headspace or what's going on, but like I really struggle to I've had times where I've really struggled to read this. Like I would keep getting lost. I would have to keep going back and forth and reading the same thing again and again and again and again, but it wasn't like that today. It was really doable. It was kind of nice. I think I honestly think I liked reading on stream more than I did reading by myself. It was kind of nice. You know, it's like I'm sitting I'm reading to my kids. If that's not totally weird of me to say, you know. Hi, James. I'll be away for the next few days because I'm visiting family. Oh, I guess I can't be here, but I hope you have some good streams. Thank you, James. I appreciate you very, very, very much. Yeah, it helps to dive into the story. It felt so much more immersive like that. I kind of loved it. I kind of loved it. Daddy Rye reading us bedtime stories. I'm not sure how comfortable I am being called daddy. I might like it too much. Kidding. I was struggling with reading as the light by hearing you read was wonderful. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. If you guys enjoyed it, that makes me happy. It makes this so much more worth doing. In terms of when am I gonna return tomorrow, that's what I'm trying to think about and like figure out. It's like, do I set an alarm and wake up at a very specific time, or do I just wake up whenever I'm comfortable and stream? I think I'll set an alarm and I'll do that for one day and we'll see how I feel about waking up to an alarm. Because I am not the kind of person to wake up to alarms. I hate waking up to alarms. But we'll give it a go. Yeah? So let's see. It is currently 11 p.m. I'm probably going to go to sleep at midnight. Maybe a little bit later. I would like an hour in the morning to shower and get ready for stream and pick my clothes and stuff. Because I also have to work out again tomorrow. Oh my god, we'll probably do some cardio tomorrow. I don't know if I want to lift more weights. And I also want to stream a little bit later. As nice as it is to catch my NA friends, I really feel like the later in the day it is, the better it fits everybody, you know? Lovecraft's wife was part of a satanic church and that she was the one giving him a copy of the Necronomicon. Haha. I suppose one of the 10 translated manuscripts in the world. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, so let's say, what do you guys reckon? Let's say I will see you guys in about 12 hours from now. Approximately 12 hours. Yeah, I streamed for 13 hours. I'm going to rest for 12-ish and probably go live for another 13 or 14 hours. Yeah, as long as I'm streaming more than I'm resting, I actually think I'm okay with that. Yeah, let's do that. All right, is there anyone I can send you all over to? Maybe you guys have some suggestions on someone who I can raid. I kind of don't have anyone live right now who's not playing Apex or Valorant or some super hype game. It's like I kind of want to raid someone who's doing some more chill vibes. Oh, you know what? Let's go find someone who's in the writing and reading category. Oh my god, look at me. I'm all the way up there. I'm number 3. Oh, how nice is that? Coffee tunes and coffee edits and tunes. This person is writing. It seems like there's a lot of writers here. Oh, that's so cool. Another writer. I think that's another writer. That's another writer. Reading Hazelthorn by C.G. Drews. You know what? Let's go raid this person. Their name is Cherry Pies. They seem very sweet. I don't know what Hazelthorn is, but let's go send you guys over. Yeah. I'm not too sure. The target channel has disabled raids. Wow, they're really locked in on the cozy vibes, huh? Damn. But they're also reading quietly. That's interesting. What a vibe. Based. Okay, well, all right, we can't raid them. You know what, friends? No raid today. I'm a little bit tired, and I can't find anyone. Yeah, no raid, no raid. Sorry, guys. I would have loved to raid this person, but they are legitimately, they're like locked in. They just happen to have a stream running and have a camera pointed at them. That's really, it's kind of cool. I like it. I respect it. But yeah, I will see you guys in 12 hours. Let me pause the subathon timer so you guys have proof that I paused it. And we completed every task today. Hooray! That's day 1 of completing all tasks. And might I say, to a standard that I am very satisfied with. That was actually really nice. That was really, really freaking nice. Good day. Good day. Started it off with the workout. I don't know how I feel about that. I felt very tired for the first couple of hours. It was quite rough, but the workout was good. My arms are like, they're still pumped a little bit. You can see. Yeah. And they are going to be very sore tomorrow. I'm sure of it. So we'll just do some cardio or something. Or maybe I'll do some chest or something. I don't know. I do not know. But yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow for a more subathon. More aim training, more gaming, more reading, more chess, more yapping, more clapping, more whack ass quotes, and maybe if we're lucky, sexting, of course. But in the meantime, I hope you all rest well. Thank you for keeping me company. I had a wonderful stream. It was actually a really good one. Thank you all for supporting me so much. I can't believe that timer is at 57 hours. It feels like it's not going to run out, but that's kind of what it is going to be like. I also feel like I have a lot more grip on this subathon than I did the last couple of ones. So hopefully it feels like that as well. It feels more organized and objective and personal and productive and worth the time, because that's the goal. Anyway, good night, everyone. I appreciate you all. You all treat me too well, and I will see you all in about 12 hours.